Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so glad you could join us today for this exciting LinkedIn Live event over how AI agents are changing workflow automation through smarter, simpler, and scalable solutions. I would like to officially introduce myself. I'm Lasya, and I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of Pronix as the moderator and host for this event. And we're proud to be partnering with the amazing team at Core.ai to bring you this conversation. As we dive in, feel free to drop a comment in the chat, let us know where you're tuning in from and what you're most excited to learn today. Now, let's talk about why we're here. As businesses' needs continue to evolve, it's becoming increasingly clear that traditional automation just can't keep up. That's where AI agents step in. In today's session, we'll explore how these intelligent systems are transforming workflow automation, enabling real-time adaptive orchestration across the entire enterprise. With the power of Core.ai's native platform and the deep domain expertise of Pronix, we'll show you how agentic AI is streamlining operations, boosting productivity, and helping organizations stay ahead of change. Whether you're in IT, compliance, HR, or operations, this conversation is for you. You'll learn how businesses are scaling smarter and faster, and we'll even give you a sneak peek into the future of automation, the one powered by autonomous self-learning systems. So stick around, engage with us in the comments, and let's reimagine work together with AI-driven workflows. Before we get into the main discussion, let's take a quick moment to share about who we are here at Pronix. At Pronix, we help forward-thinking enterprises modernize and scale their operations through AI-powered workflow automation. By leveraging intelligent orchestration, low-code frameworks, and conversational AI, we enable seamless automation across business functions like IT, HR, finance, and customer experience. In collaboration with Core.ai, we're delivering adaptive, enterprise-grade solutions that unify systems, empower cross-functional teams, and eliminate process inefficiencies, driving agility, productivity, and measurable impact at scale. Now, let's get into the heart of today's discussion. We're incredibly honored to be joined here by three amazing guest speakers who bring unique insights and real-world experience in AI automation and digital transformation. Let's give them a warm virtual welcome. First up, we have Cobus, a chief evangelist at Core.ai. Cobus is currently serving as the chief evangelist at Core.ai with a deep passion for innovation. Cobus explores everything at the intersection of natural language, AI, and human interaction. Welcome, Cobus. Great to have you with us.
Thanks so much.
Next joining us is Rishi, a global practice director at Birlasoft. Rishi Verma is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in building innovative and business value-driven artificial intelligence implementations across industries like manufacturing, energy and utilities, and life sciences. Rishi has worked on all data capability areas in over 2 decades of professional experience. Rishi combines deep technical expertise using multiple AI tools, technologies, and techniques with business knowledge to unlock the potential for AI for business. Thanks for being here, Rishi. We're looking forward to your insights.
Sure. Thank you, Lasya. Thanks, Pronix, for having me.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Ravi, CDO at Quest Diagnostics, a visionary technology executive known for leading enterprise transformation, digital innovation, and AI/ML adoption at scale. He brings a proven track record of modernizing legacy systems, architecturizing secure and scalable digital solutions, and aligning technology with business strategy. From serving as the chief technological officer to driving global digital transformation initiatives, Ravi has consistently delivered impactful outcomes. So glad you could join us today here, Rishi. Thank you.
Thanks, Lasya. Thanks, Pronix.
Once again, a very warm welcome to all of our 3 guests. So let's dive into the conversation today. So, Cobus, let's kick off things with you first. Can you tell us a bit about how are AI agents evolving beyond traditional bots and static automation?
Great, thanks, Lasya. I think the strong point of AI agents is the fact that they can take a complex and a compound input from a user and decompose it into a sequence of sub-steps to solve for that problem. And I typically think of traditional chatbots before the advent of language models. You really wanted the user only to utter or use one intent. The moment they used multiple or compound intents, then that became a problem. And I think the big advantage for me of AI agents, and really the superpower of AI agents is able to take a compound user input, decompose it into a sequence of steps, and then execute sequentially. And for me, the litmus test for any AI agent is if that AI agent has got access to a math library or and be able to search the web, I should be able to ask that agent what's the square root of the year of birth of the man that's commonly regarded as the father of the iPhone. And typically, traditionally that would be very difficult for a chatbot, but for an AI agent, that should be something very simple, where the AI agent goes off, decomposes that into a sequence of steps and solves for it. And maybe just an interesting story. So the other day I was prototyping building an AI agent with an open source framework, and I gave the AI agent access to a math library and to the internet. And I asked that question, and it came back with the square root of the year of birth of Steve Jobs. And then I took away the math library. All right. So then the AI agent actually went off, got the year of birth, but said in its reasoning, I don't have access to any calculation tool. I'm going to use the internet to calculate this. And it actually Googled what's the square root of, I forgot the year of birth, and it came back with an answer. So that type of resilience is something that's really baked into AI agents. If I can mention two more things very briefly, let's say the one thing is, I think we might get to it a bit later, but obviously human oversight will become very important. And then to mention a last thing, I was at the Gartner IT Symposium in Barcelona, and an executive from Google spoke, and he highlighted how Google actually had their own ChatGPT moment, because they found, he need a graph up, and they found that in a certain point in time, people always used to search with 3 or 4 words, right? So people optimize their search really like they search the minimum amount of words. And then they found there was a certain point in time where that changed, and people used 20 to 30 words to actually search for what they needed. And he spoke about the mind shift Google had to make, because all of a sudden people became more verbose, and they felt the more context we give, the better my search will be. And I think that's the new world we live in, and that's the advantage of AI agents. The more verbose and more context you give, the better performance you'll get from the AI agent.
That's really valuable insights coming from you, Cobus. Thank you. That story regarding Square was really interesting. Rishi, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. See, the traditional bots and the static automation systems we talk about, they have been since a couple of years, right? They work on kind of, the defined scripts, defined rules. And that is something where the evolution of intelligent AI agents make a difference, right? So they can take a decision of their own, right? These AI agents, as we know, have evolved where they use machine learning. They make use of the contextual understanding, right? They make use of the natural language processing concepts, right? And in that way, they are capable of doing an autonomous decision making of their own, right? As an example, in the supply chain, these AI agents can work cohesively, and they can kind of, change the fleet management depending upon the situations on the fly. You may need minimal human intervention in that way. So in that way, AI agents are evolving pretty nicely for building the operational efficiencies, improving the customer experience, and much more.
Thank you, Rishi. That's good information. Ravi, is there anything that you would like to add on to it?
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 points. Like I think that both Cobus and Rishi cover pretty much. But if you look at it in general, and we've been maybe a couple of decades, like the overall automation and the process improvements and other things. Like we started with integrating through the integration platforms, integrating the different systems, and we established the process. Then BPM came, and then now RPA is like somewhat like close to what we realize right now, the automation effectiveness wise. But when you think about all of these things, there is one common thing is pretty much rigidness. Like you basically pretty much hardwired things are like a static routes that you are creating and static rules that you are configuring. So anytime like in a source or destination changes, like in your pretty much your process breaks. Like and so human involvement is pretty significant there. But if you look at like the agent take, like and as Rishi and Kav was mentioned, like and understanding the contextual awareness, self-learning, and also like the applying the empathy, or like empathy is somewhat like less, but like and when you look at the applying the self-learning or other the memory or like the things like additional inputs like and real-time data and all the stuff like the situational behaviors and other things, it kind of makes it significant for like an organization, any organization to implement like an agent take. Like in your kind of, I don't want to say like a human like, but you are almost like doing a routine job of a human without like a critical or complex handling a complex logic that you need to handle. Like and so you are kind of taken care of by using the just agent. So it's kind of showing a promising results at this point. I would say like in many organizations, as Rishi mentioned, like in the supply chain or customer service is one big area that like and we are also seeing everywhere. Examples like that what Kabos gave, like and we are also seeing a similar fashion, like in how customers are scheduling an appointments, and when the appointments are getting denied, and it's getting denied because there is a reason, and then agents are kind of identifying like and we can't provide an appointment for the particular customer at particular location because so and so reasons, like and the reasons are constantly changing. And so yeah, it is I would say it is now we are realizing, and it's a reality, it's not a fiction anymore. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. That was a lot of valuable insights coming in from all of you for this question. So I'm really glad we were able to kick off the session to a great start. Our next question is again for you, Copus. So what's the role of AI native platforms in building smarter enterprise automation?
That's something I actually wrote quite a bit about, Lasse, recently.
Yeah.
I spoke to a tech executive these days, and he said to me he wants to implement AI, conversational AI, and he had an amazing use case, right? Like really such a ideal use case. But then he said to me, I don't want to tie myself or commit to technology. And I tried to say to him in a very nice way, like, you will have to commit to a technology. And maybe just briefly, let's say, if I may, like for me, there are like basically three layers, right? So there are SDKs, scaffolding, and frameworks, right? So, I mean, we've seen of late, like, xAI, OpenAI, Anthropic, so many model providers released SDKs, software development kits. So, I mean, even if you make use of the SDK that's really pro code, you're still tied to that SDK, that environment. Your code is still factored to work within that SDK. There's lots of scaffolding available on GitHub, where you can stand up something, in seconds, in minutes, and do quite a nice demo. And then obviously there are frameworks, of which Core.ai is a framework. So I think regardless of your persuasion, you will have to commit to a technology, a SDK, maybe some scaffolding to get just a proof of concept going, and to a framework. And the way I see it, like your framework will be an abstraction of the available technology, an abstraction layer. And then you will have primitives within that abstraction layer people can make use of to build solutions. And so the ideal would be to have like a no-code abstraction layer where all your Legos sit in, which you can use to build. I think the two challenges are, number one, that technology changes all the time. So a big part of AI is trust. So you need to partner with someone you trust and whose solution is, future proof. And then the second thing is, I think there's a lot of saving and optimizing that's possible if you're able to build agentic applications or AI agents very quickly. So if you democratize access by having a no-code, interface where even a designer or a business analyst type of person can build a solution, then I think that's something you can take forward. So I'll end with this, like a final example. So for instance, these days, and I made a video of that and I put it on LinkedIn, I created a personal AI agent for myself. And I used a MCP service called Pipedream, and I linked my Strava to it and my email and a few other things. And I could have a conversation to my personal agent, which I developed. It took me about half an hour. So I almost see a future that if development becomes so easy, but granular enough so you can really tweak it, but if it becomes so easy, then your AI agents also almost becomes disposable. Right, so you can almost develop a functionality for a specific use, like a utility, and then dispose of it. But suffice to say, I hope that's where my mind is in terms of where the frameworks live, and somewhere along the line, I think companies will have to make some kind of commitment to a framework or a SDK environment for sure.
Thank you. That's good information. Rishi, is there anything that you would like to add on to it?
Yeah. So, see, I'll take a step back and I will see, how the typical platform is different than an AI native platform. See, the AI native platform is built from ground up using the AI functionality in mind. Okay. So it allows us to from designing up till the deployment, it allows us to build that system with ease, right? So that is kind of a one thing. Now, how it basically helps us in creating a smarter automation is by it helps us in orchestrating the complex workflows. Example, you see platforms like N8N, Crew.ai, or other tech stacks where we can build the agents or agentic AI systems. So I can connect multiple disparate systems and I can literally work at times in a low code, no code mode. Even for the business users, I can create a workflow, right? So that helps me in quick automation too. The other area where it is helping a lot, this automation from the AI native platforms, is like the real-time intelligence. We can build multiple agents, right, which will work collectively to take a decision autonomously with minimal human intervention, right? So systems like the co-pilot is working with users, right, not by replacing them but working with users to build this automation easy for all the end users, right? So in this way, basically, the AI platforms are helping us to build these automations with ease for the benefit of users, and across industries. Say they are integrating multiple systems. That is how they are helping us.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I think that was some really good information that's going to be really helpful to our audience. Moving on to the next question that we have. This one's for you, Rishi. So how can business users create and manage AI-powered workflows? And by business users, I mean not just developers.
So particularly if you see, again, I'll go back to my examples around platforms like N8N, right? They are into low code, no code. So any users, they can, with ease, with a drag and drop functionality, they can set up all those the nodes and they can create a workflow, right? There are predefined templates by these tools also, right? There are kind of the SDKs as well. Of course, SDKs they cannot develop, but at least the predefined templates will help them to bring something to implement real quick. Now, the other thing is, with these platforms, they are like AI assistants too. Like these AI assistants give you a good guidance, right from, the beginning till the end process, step by step, any user will be able to put that functionality, right? So this is kind of, how they are easing the development by the business users. And, and there is kind of, we can bring in a lot more automation by developing these workflows by business users. That's how the democratization of AI also means, right? Yeah, thank you.
Got it. Yeah. Cobus, would you want to share your thoughts on business users and AI-powered workflows on this?
Yes, I like what Rishi said. I think workflows are hugely important. If I can maybe just add two things, sorry, to what he said. And the one thing is, there was a very interesting study these days performed by OpenAI. So they took training material, so live, agents, call center representatives, and they took training material and they input those training material, via application with a large language model as the back end. And so the input was unstructured documents, and the output were workflows, procedures. And they compared those procedures that the application came up with to the current procedures of the live, call center agents. And there was a vast improvement. Right, so the system was able to ingest this unstructured data and create a workflow based on that, a sequential workflow that was highly optimized. There's also a study, actually I did a Medium post on that today from research from Alibaba, where they did very much the same. So just to add to what Rishi said, I think from a business perspective, workflows are very important, but it need not be fully autonomous, right? So it can be a solution where a generative AI system ingests unstructured data and give you optimal workflows, to go about things. And then to end with the second part, there was this study also recently from Stanford University where they emphasized human AI collaboration. So where you use AI to create workflows, which is then performed under human supervision. And this ties into this whole idea of an agentic spectrum or an agentic continuum, where you can dial the agency of your application up or down, right? So if you look at the studies, AI agents are really inaccurate. If you look at even in a benchmarking from OpenAI and various other sources, even Anthropic, right? So when it comes to computer-used agents, web browsing agents, complex task agents, accuracy sits about 30 to 50% sometimes. So the accuracy is not there yet. So what's the solution? Well, accuracy will get there, but the solution is workflows, the importance of workflows, and using AI agents to create and optimize workflows under human supervision. And as accuracy improves, one can really dial up the agency and give more freedom, to the application. If I can mention one more thing, Lasse,
Go ahead.
We mentioned earlier in this call, we spoke about, self-learning and improvement. And I want to encourage, our viewers to take a look at the research from NVIDIA. So they've got this whole concept. They speak of a data flywheel. Because if you think of like this workflows, improving workflows, like how does a system self-learn, right? And NVIDIA's got this very nice, what they call a data flywheel, where they use, where there's human curation, again, a human involved, curating the data and sending that that data back to fine-tune the large language model or the small language model. So that's a process of continuous improvement to get better workflows, but it's heavily focused on data curation and getting that data back. So, we're not done with the humans. AI is not done with the humans yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ravi, is there anything that you would like to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they covered, but I would say like just as low code, no code platforms are evolving like pretty drastically, like, and I mean, very rapidly, right? Like, so it's just, I think Rishi touched a little bit on that one in terms of not only business users like needs to do the process or like orchestrate the whole thing like by themselves, like, and as these tools are also providing a provision for like a natural language processing NLP side of it, and also document uploads and like a RAG capabilities and all the stuff. It's kind of making the process pretty seamless and simple, and also like the testing capability. Like I think as Cord was mentioned, like we are not there 100% for critical activities to turn it on and then let it go, but it's a human in the loop is still required and it needed. So having that one in the loop and then test it and then train it and then make it better and better, like is definitely there. And so it's definitely business users, like a lot of businesses, at least I know, they're all very excited and more than IT people, and they are doing it already.
Perfect. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you, Ravi. Moving on to the next question. This one's for you, Rishi. So what makes AI agents scalable across enterprise functions and industries?
So, see, the scalability of AI agents come basically from, the modularity, the flexibility that comes in like building and implementing the AI agents, right? So, for example, within finance, we talk about automated invoicing. Within HR, we talk about automated onboarding. With IT, we talk about ticketing system, right? So that modular and flexible architecture is like one thing. Then the other scalability comes because AI agents in today's world, they can kind of integrate with multiple ERP systems, CRP systems, right? So that helps us in kind of, further scaling them up, right? And beyond this, if you see basically, we have the cross industry applicability also. The AI agents we typically develop now, they are getting very domain focused, right? So they contain the taxonomy, they understand, what the terminology mean for any user queries or how to act with respect to a particular industry. So that also helps in kind of, upward scaling of these things basically. So yeah, these are some of the things by which, we are able to scale up the AI agentic systems across industries or into workflows basically.
Thank you. That was good information coming in from you, Rishi. Moving on to the next question that we have over here. This one's for you, Ravi. So could you tell us a bit about how do organizations ensure transparency, governance, and trust with AI-led processes? That's a very good question that a lot of people have nowadays.
It is a very good question, and it's a very important and timely question also. Like, and so for us, any organization, like, and I've been talking to industry peers and roundtable conferences, like in every for a long time, and I think like in every leader is either most of the organizations either doing it or like already done it. But if you think about it, once AI becomes like the integral part of the business process and operations, the challenge is no longer just about what AI can do. It's more of like, how AI can do responsibly, like, and that's the more of a concern that we have. So because like the AI agents are like more autonomous and then they can take the decisions on their own. So you got to have a guardrails, like, and define, and also have the proper monitorings and everything else is there. Like, and so one of the, at least based on my conversations with within the organization or also across the industry, like, and with industry peers, is first of all, everybody trying to set up a governance board. So either like establishing architecture review, security, the data governance, and AI governance, all of them, the boards, like they're trying to establish that part. That's the most important because as we are, everybody's excited about the opportunities that AI can bring. So we are all trying to bring and try to do things like on an ad hoc basis. Like, and if you don't have the governance, that's going to be a big challenge. So that's, I think it's in progress, like in a majority of the places. And it's the other thing is like in terms of a risk assessment. So when you implement AI agents, like we need to make sure that what kind of risk or bias or like the hallucination and all the stuff that it will bring, how that will impact your process or something. So you need to have the risk assessment and management, the process and the things that defined upfront, and that's the one area that I see that one. Another thing is like, of course, it depends on the industry, like in which industry you belong to, and other things like whether it's a GDPR or HIPAA compliance, like in from a healthcare point of view, and or NIST compliance, and all the AI principles and other things like that we need to follow, and we establish that part, and just to make sure that everything is from a guardrails point of view, people follow that one, and plus. I think we touched a little bit earlier in this one. As we are progressing or we are maturing across like an agentic and all the models, LLMs and other things, human in the loop, especially like when you are addressing the critical business needs and things like human in the loop is something like, and it is required, or I would say like recommended at this point. The one other thing that I would add is when we are communicating, this is one thing that we've been constantly talking to is when we are communicating, or like when customers communicating with a virtual agents, like an AI agent, or like you communicating through the emails or like any other channels, communicating or letting end users know that this is we are leveraging AI is important, like, and at least they know that they're receiving or their information is provided by a virtual agent, and so that way like they act on it differently. Like, and when you're talking to human, you might take it granted. Like when you're talking to virtual agent, you might think about it and then like and go back and do a second level of due diligence and things like that. So that's the letting know is also important. So with all these things, as long as you define, and plus one last thing I would say is auditability. Like, when you constantly audit and monitor the models and also the agents outputs and other things to make sure that like, and you are not drifting away from the drifting away, and also hallucinations and other things like is not introduced, like, and as the progress, as you are making the progress. So that's another thing that so as long as you define these things, guardrails and the frameworks, and then also process, I think we should be good there.
Great. That's a lot of enlightening information coming in. Thank you, Ravi. Rishi, would you like to add on to that by going over the governance structure a bit more on the dashboards that are being built for AI detection?
Sure. So, see, I agree with Ravi that, a responsible AI is very much needed, right? See, these AI agents, they work on the critical workflows. We need to ensure transparency. We need to ensure that trust is there. So we need to build the governance structure to like avoid the biases or the errors or the ethical violations, right? So typically we build AI fairness dashboards, right? That basically help us in capturing the responses being generated from these AI agents, right? And we also build something like an explainability equation, right? To build the trust and the fairness, we need to understand why a decision is being made, and that basically comes from building the explainability. So that kind of a governance structure by either building the governance committees who will oversee the deployment, who will monitor the performance of the agents, who will address the risk coming out from the agents. We kind of implement or ensure that all the AI principles are managed in this agentic developments. Yeah.
Thank you for adding on to that, Rishi. Moving on over to the next question. What are the real-world challenges of deploying AI agents, and how can they be overcome? Phobos, this question's for you. If you could just enlighten us a bit more about this.
I'm still digesting what Ravi and Rishi said in the previous. It's so rich what they said in terms of governance and risk. But to your question about agents and like the challenges taking them live. There was recently a paper, and I want to encourage everyone to read it. It's called Agents That Matter. And it was a very, very interesting and sobering analysis of implementing AI agents in production environments. So, I mean, a few things come to mind. I think the one thing is latency. So AI agents are inherently conversational in nature, conversational input, and there are quite a few hops or chains or nodes along the chain of thought it creates. So latency is a problem. You've got language model latency. You've got processing. You go into APIs, backend systems. So latency is a problem. The second one is cost, and that's what the AI Agents That Matter study focused on. That, I mean, there's got to be a business case, and one's got to factor in the running cost of an AI agent in production, and like, is the cost really worth is the savings there, or is the increase in revenue there? A third thing I'll mention is one will definitely, and this is something, I mean, I just posted that today. NVIDIA said the future of agentic AI is small language models, and I couldn't agree with them more. So I think the problem is, and that ties in with what Ravi and Rishi said previously on data governance. Like currently, I think two AI agents are really structured around large language models that's somewhere in the cloud. So when I would advise any organization you must have your own private instance of a language model. I mean, like, I wouldn't advise any enterprise to have a shared instance of a model. So definitely your own private instance running somewhere, and also then governance in terms of your data flow, where the data goes and where it comes back. So I think that's really important. But I think the future, and it will also be really a catalyst to bring AI agents to production, would be to make use of small language models. And something I've seen recently, and this is also research from NVIDIA, is how they fine-tune small language models to select the correct tools. So I think that's something Rishi alluded to in terms of the integration. I think he mentioned CRM and HR systems. So obviously, you've got, in the architecture of AI agents, tools are the integration points. And when you ask an AI agent a question, it must select the right tool, the right access point into the real world. And there's very good research from NVIDIA how they fine-tune small language models to optimize them for tool selection. So you almost have a small language model that just does that tool selection. So I think a big part of the future will be like model orchestration, and that will also make it easier to manage factors like cost and latency. And maybe just to end with this, the focus is there, but up until the recent past, we really overlooked telemetry or reporting, and it's been like, we at Core put a lot of emphasis on that. But also, if you look at some of the open source frameworks, there's really significant focus in terms of observability, discoverability, and inspectability, and just having insight into the thought processes of the AI agent. So that, I think it used to be a problem. It might still be, but it's not a black box anymore to a large degree. And I think that's something that's really encouraging in terms of agent implementation.
Great,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
I would like to add
Sure,
something.
go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yes.
one of the important point where I see where customers are more concerned about in implementing AI agentic system is they have like lots of business applications, right? They have many user personas to manage. So how the access of the data via AI agents to different user
Mm.
personas will be managed. Okay. They want to, for example, one, they want to allow the access of certain AI agents to specific users. Okay. So something like an orchestration agent comes into picture, or authorization agent rather. And then, within each agent's data, what that agent is handling, how different user personas will have access to selected data. That's another challenge, right?
Mm.
So data security is one prime concern in deploying, right? The second important thing is about, the guardrails. We should not be able to kind of, expose any uh, critical, sensitive PII type of data to unauthorized users. Basically, yes, it's related to the security, but and then along with the guardrails, how the feedback and the evaluation of the results will be done, right? Uh, for example, if you use a technology like a Langsmith, I can get the very granular detail of what user queries are, what response was given. But as an assessor, even can I look at that data? No. So the choice of technology in collecting the feedback and evaluating it is critical too. Okay. Data quality is also critical, right? See, AI systems at the end of the day is like, AI, it depends on the data what we already have. If there is a garbage data in, the result will be like not appropriate too. So the data quality is a critical aspect in getting a right responses from the AI agents too. So there should be a proper like a data preparation steps also, right? And then at times, I'm saying with legacy systems which are not AI agent compatible, that is where we may have some challenge in deploying AI systems too, right? Beyond these technological things, there are other considerations where the people may not find implementing AI agents into their environment with ease. Okay, so they may think about a job loss equation, etc. So we need to handle those kind of the challenges as well when we are deploying an AI agentic system. Right? Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kobus and Rishi. Ravi, is there anything that you would like to add briefly to this?
I think that they covered it, but one thing I would add is like just I think Rishi touched pretty detailed. One is access management is very critical. Security, like the protocols that we use, is also very important. Like and so, data in transit is very important. Like agents shouldn't be like distributing data like in a clear text and other things like encryption. Everything is important. One other thing that I would say like an important is data minimization and data anonymization is also important. See, wherever error is possible, right? Like, and it's especially data minimization is you don't need to, if you don't need that information to the agent or like to the model, don't send it. Like, and so minimize the data what you need, like, and so to send it. Similarly, like the data anonymization also, if you don't need the actual data and if you can anonymize it, and then so that you're reducing the risk of exposing a critical or sensitive information to the public. Like, so there are some of those things, the data area, like in clean data and other things, that's important. But overall, security and access management is one of the most critical and complex thing in terms of what agent can access what information and like and how they're is most important also. So I think those complexities needs to be overcome.
So,
Perfect.
Lasse,
Yeah.
I've got to double click on what Rishi and Ravi just said, right? So, and what they said really excites me because I was at this, I won't name the name, right? But it's one of the most renowned international IT conferences. And I was standing at our booth and a CIO came from me. I think he was from Norway. And he was shocked. And he said, I saw something today that frightened me. And I said to him, like, what did you see? And he said, I was standing in the back of the auditorium. I saw people on their laptops on ChatGPT and uploading spreadsheets and documents. Right. And so I mean, definitely there's a responsibility on everyone's side, but I think, data, yeah, it's a challenge to manage data.
Yeah,
True.
I know we get excited when we see that feature, right? Like, and so people will do it. So it's,
Yeah.
That's some great insights coming in, and that's some great conversation that we're having here. So, I'd like to move on to the next question. So, Ravi, can you tell us a bit about how do AI agents enable real-time adaptability in changing business environments?
yeah, I mean, AI isn't by itself it's a modular and it's a dynamic, all right? Like, and so it's for this particular question, like an AI agent's a perfect suit, like, and so they're pretty much built for the real time adaptability, unlike as we discussed in the past in the previous conversations, like there is no rigid rules or like a static routes and all the configurations and all the stuff, like, and it is kind of learning from the data and it is based on the situation and it's taking the action and other things, right? Like, so it's definitely agent is adaptable and agent is dynamic, and it only basically, like, and of course, like, an end of the day, like, and as we discussed in the previous conversation, agent works like the way we want to work, like, and based on the data that you supply, the right data and like the right design that you take, like, right. So when you think about AI, like, and it always like comes to my mind, one thing is, if you guys remember, like I mean, we still have that approach, like a monolithic application, like you have a massive one application that's kind of like doing everything that you want, versus like in the past few years or like maybe decade or so, we started like moving towards like more microservices. Like now we started producing like a discrete functions into the microservices. Now you started orchestrating those microservices, and then each of them is delivering only the specific skill set. But you are still like orchestrating through a static rules and static routes and things like that one. But what agents is doing is like, and it is taking like a game one level up, like, and saying like, okay, I'm doing this similar functionality, like in a one what do you call the individual discrete function I'm performing each agent, but I don't need you to configure or like provide any static rules or anything. So I can learn from like the data that you supply, I learn from the situation, learn from the context like that you're on, learn from the sentiment, and I can act on it. That's what like the adaptability or like the business change, like, and it is doing. I mean, I would give you one example in that one, right? So if you go like in a healthcare, or like, and I know there are a ton of examples like that we can go over, but like, and if you look at a patient scheduling an appointment with a patient service center. So let's say like there is a system downtime or whatever happened at that particular patient service center, and then now you have a backlog of multiple patients waiting for the phlebotomist to take to address. So now when you are trying to schedule an appointment with that patient service center, in normal scenario, what you will do, like, and we need to go on, somebody has to go and make the adjustment saying like, and we're not accepting any appointments for this particular PSC, etc., etc. But if an intelligent agent can look at the data and then say like, and right now there are like 20 people in a queue, this one phlebotomist can only perform like, and let's say 10 minutes per patient, like, and so there is no way like the phlebotomist can do it. There is no other phlebotomist available, and there is so then it will look up and then say, okay, I have an option to say there is another PSC located like nearby this one, or like, and then I can schedule another appointment like tomorrow or day after tomorrow, something. So this agent can do all the stuff like in a situation basis, like, and I don't think there is anything existing in RPA or like something that we have today. They won't be able to do that one. But one thing also I'm seeing with that mode, with the current RPA solutions and other things, robotic process wise, there is an intelligent process automation kind of started like evolving, like in most of these RPA vendors. If you look at it, many of them, I don't want to name it, but like in many of the RPA vendors, they started like evolving towards like the more of intelligent process automation, like, and that includes Gen AI capabilities, that includes the machine learning, that includes like a image, like the natural language processing and all the stuff. Like, so now they're combining the robotic plus like they're combining the Gen AI capabilities. So like now you can get a breed of like the mix of like both capabilities. Like, and so that's another thing that you are using. And I think we discussed a little bit earlier, as agents are autonomous, and we are creating those autonomous agents that can run on a situation basis based on the real-time data. It's not like a static data. It can go on. I think to Corbus mentioned earlier, when Steve Jobs the date of birth, and it can go on in Google and then find out what's happening. I think that's so yeah. I mean, agents are definitely dynamic and adaptable to business. Is a perfect synergy there. It's just more of a how reliable it is, and can we trust 100% there, or and we need to keep the human in the loop until we are 100% confident and comfortable with that one. Unless so, that's the only thing I would say. And otherwise, it is present. It is not future anymore. It is already getting present.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That covers a lot of insightful information. I would like to move on to the next question, which is open to everyone. The question's, what's next? Are multi-agent systems and autonomous operations the future? So, Cobus, it would be great if you could start off this question with your insights, and then we can follow it up with Rishi and Ravi.
Let me say three things. So that's a tough question. I think the future, there's going to be three things in the future. The one is that data and regular fine-tuning of language models will become commonplace. I mean, I see this cycle. I mean, I worked for a telco and we had a voice bot. So obviously we had used the ASR system to convert the speech into text, the advanced speech recognition system. So we had an acoustic model which we trained, and eventually we trained our acoustic model almost once a week. And our NLU model we train almost every day, a new version. And I think in the future, we'll see a situation where we'll make use of small language models. We'll have a continuous data pipeline, and fine-tuning will become commonplace. So I see the same cycle as we saw with NLU models, natural language understanding models, used to live in the cloud. Then it started to live in a private cloud, on-prem, on local machines, on the edge. Same as happening with large language models. I think fine-tuning, as we fine-tuned NLU, will become commonplace. So that will, and data will become hugely important. So managing data. I think there's the second thing to look out for the future is that there's going to be this balance with agent orchestration, right? So you already, OpenAI has got a very nice demo where they have a triage agent, and the triage agent hands over the task to subsequent agents. And then those agents have access to selected tools in MCP servers. So I think agent orchestration will become very important. Already there's research on not DNS to name service, but ANS, agent name service, where you'll be able to search for an agent. And so I think that collaboration portion will really expand. And then thirdly and finally, I think, Rishi or Ravi mentioned it, but human in the loop is something that will not go away for certain tasks. And again, if I think about that recent research from Stanford, and I saw a table these days where they categorized tasks according to severity and complexity. So obviously, if the complexity and the severity is quite high, then you want human intervention and human oversight. So I think that will become more enhanced, more intelligent, but there will be that handoff to a human for certain intents or tasks, just to have oversight or at least approve the workflow before it goes ahead. So those are my three things for the future.
Thank you. Rishi, is there anything that you would like to add on to it briefly?
I think, I echo Cobus' message, but I'll use the term self-optimizing systems. Okay. So the multiple AI agentic system, they basically work collaboratively to solve a complex problem. It is very similar to the way humans will do the things. So if you think, is it the future? My answer is yes, as far as, there is a component of self-optimization built to a greater degree. That means they should be able to do the things, learn, and, incorporate into their next level of learning. That is what will make these multi-agentic systems a success, basically, right? So reinforcement learning will be very important for agents, so that they can improve and they can apply all the AI principles in mitigating the risk or the bias, or become more explainable by giving explainability to the outcomes, okay, building that trust that way, right? Secondly, of course, the human feedback in loop will become an important thing for their refinements. And yeah, so basically, domain specific multiple AI agent systems will gain traction over the time, which will be very task exclusive, which should be optimized in terms of cost, also should be performance tuned. If we have these capabilities, we will be kind of definitely focusing on implementing such multi AI agentic systems.
Thank you. So moving on over to the next question that we have over here. This one's for you, Rishi. So how can AI agent-based automation coexist with human talent? I think this is something that we touched based on previously. If you could just give us a brief about this a bit
Oh,
more.
sure. Yes, I will just kind of, say, in briefly, how the coexistence will be done. It will be like, human feedback in loop is very important for agents to kind of learn quickly and adapt and give a correct, accurate output. Second thing, we need to understand that the AI agents are augmenting. I mean, it's not replacing the humans, right? So it's kind of, for example, in marketing, while the storytelling and the branding can be done by humans, the data analysis can be done by agents, right? So it is like augmenting, not replacing. And the other thing is that, the reskilling should be done in the hybrid environment type of equation, where employers, need to skill their employees to work in an AI environment, right? So I think from these three areas, I believe the AI agents can coexist with the human talent. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So in the interest of time, we'll be moving to the audience Q&A we have. So our audience has sent in some really good questions. The first question that we have over here is, how should organizations approach the data privacy implications of AI agents that need access to information across multiple systems? So, Ravi, if you could answer that question for us,
Yeah,
that
I
would be
think we
great.
touched this one in our one of the governance thing, right? Like, so as depends on the type of organization and type of data that you are dealing with. I think establishing the proper guardrails that includes the proper review boards, like when whether it's a data security review board, architecture review board, security and other things like an AI review boards. That's one thing, and the risk and risk assessment process, and then controls that also should be there as part of it. And wherever we can, and possibly data, as I mentioned earlier, data anonymization or data minimization principles that we need to also implement. And lastly, like, and I would say the AI principles, like, and especially like in a whether it's a regulatory GDPR or like an all other compliance, like in HIPAA and whatnot. Let's make sure that one, like, and those are all applied, and are at least the principles or the controls are in place, like in every time. And these are all the foundational elements. They shouldn't be looked at for every time. Like when you bring up a new initiative, they shouldn't be start from the beginning. Like, we should have these things in place before we start anything else. Like, I think that will accelerate overall adoption of AI. That's what I feel, and that's what I'm hearing from all the industry peers also.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your time today. It was great talking to all of you. Some really valuable insights that we gained from all of you, and it would have definitely been helpful to all of our audience over here. I Once again, I want to thank you for joining us over here to our event today, and that's hosted by Pronix and Core.ai. Today, we explored how AI agents are moving automation beyond bots, enabling real-time adaptive and enterprise-wide orchestration. From IT to HR, this shift empowers teams, simplifies complexity, and drives measurable impact. At Pronix, in collaboration with Core.ai, we're excited to help organizations embrace intelligent, scalable automation. We really appreciate your time and participation, and let's continue shaping the future of work together. Thank you so much, Rishi, Ravi, and Kobus once again for joining us over here. It was really great having you.
Thanks,
Sure.
everyone.
Thank you.
Having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.